Thank you very much. Yeah, it is great to be here with you here this morning, and this is our first visit to Topeka, and we're kind of new to Kansas. We're originally from Ohio in the States. Ohio and Thailand are mainly the two places we've lived, and I don't know, I mentioned to the first service how excited I was that, Ohio State was on TV last night, and they had a come from behind victory, but most of the people in the room, they didn't seem to share my excitement. But so I don't understand that, but it's a cross-cultural experience, I guess, and we're kind of used to that. One day you may see the light. Are we going to have the speaking of seeing the light, there she is. But yeah, like the young lady says, it is nice to be here with you here, and it's nice to meet you. And about this coffee, it's these are all Baptist Corinne, so this is very much Baptist coffee. I like to say that it's it's just waiting to be immersed in the water. So so feel free, and you'll see a bird on one. If you know Mike and Becky Mann, the coffee in the silver packages comes through a cooperative that they have started. They're American Baptist Missionaries. The other coffee has a picture of a bird, looks sort of like an oriole, but it's a different, I guess the real name is Minivet or something like that, if you're into birds. But it sort of looks like an oriole, but it signifies good luck to the Corinne people, and that is the brand that they've selected, or the logo that they've selected for this coffee. So we've been missionaries for a good long time. We're kind of anomalies in the mission world. We're technically missionaries to Thailand, but now we're assigned to the U.S. Because a lot of the people that we were working with are now here in the U.S., but they're really the people that we're working with are actually from Burma. But we don't normally say we're working with the Burmese, because we're working with Karen and Chin and Kachin and all kinds of ethnic groups, and rarely do we actually work in ethnic terms with Burmese. But they're all from the country of Burma, so they're Burmese in that sense. Burma does equal Myanmar. The Burmese government would like for you to call it Myanmar. Actually, in the Burmese language, it's always been Myanmar. But a lot of the ethnic groups still like to call it Burma. So, but we're talking about the same country. In Thailand, generally Burma is used, so we're sort of in that habit. So we'll say Burma, but you can think Myanmar if you like to. To understand what's going on in Burma, we need, like I've already hinted at, there's many people groups besides Burmese. Does that work? Can you see the red light? Oh, there it is. Well, no? Yes? Never mind. The white area in the map there is where, in ethnic terms, the Burmese people live. But you can see there's many other colors on that map other than white, and those represent some of the other major people groups. We'll be talking a lot about the Karen people. They live in the eastern edge, sort of that brown area on the map. In the very far north are the Kachin people, up next to China. And then the blue area on the left side of that map, the western part of the country, that's Chin State. That's where the Chin people live. So there's many ethnic groups. Each of these ethnic groups are their own people. Some of them had their own royal families. All of them had their own aspirations to be their own country. They never dreamed that they would be put together in to form a country with Burma. But after World War II, when Britain was giving up its various colonies, they were giving up colonies in sort of a hurry. Burma wasn't a priority for them, and so they just kind of said, well, I don't know what to do. We'll just give it to the Burmese. And so in ethnic terms, that's what they did. And it kind of cut out all the other minority groups from really participating in the government, and the Burmese have been kind of lording it over the other minority groups, and that's the origin of the problems in Burma. So that's one thing we need to understand about Burma, is just that there's so many language groups, so many ethnic groups. The other thing we need to understand about Burma is the Judson connection. And yes, July 13th, 1813, Adoniram Judson arrived in Burma. When he left Massachusetts in 1812, he really kicked off the Protestant mission movement in America. He left as a Congregationalist but became a Baptist on the way to India, was baptized, but then didn't really have a mission organization among the Baptist churches to support him. He left as a Congregationalist, and they had formed a mission organization among the Congregationalists, but he was no longer Congregationalist. So Luther Rice is another historical name in missions. He came back to the States, helped the Baptist churches form mission agencies. These mission agencies then eventually started to work together, and those are the forerunners of the Baptist denomination here in America. So next year, 2014, International Ministries of the American Baptist Churches is going to have a big celebration commemorating 200 years of their formation. And that goes back to Adoniram Judson and Luther Rice. In December, in Burma, they are expecting something like 40,000 people to gather among the Baptists, and they'll be coming to Rangoon, Burma, Yangon, Myanmar, depending on your language preference, and they'll be commemorating 200 years of Judson's arrival. So whether you're on that side of the world or this side of the world, we really owe Judson a lot of respect, and we should remember him because we're here because of him. And it's just an indication of what one person can do when they live and work within the hands of God, when they live according to the Lord's will. And what they do lasts for years and years. So thinking about the Karen people as an example of what's happening in Burma, there's 3 to 7 million Karen people in the country of Burma. They live in some of the most remote areas of the country, which are really some of the most remote areas of the world. And they are seen as the enemy of the Burmese military government. Why? Basically because they're not Burmese. They're Karen. There's always been some animosity between the two groups, just like there was always in Europe, you know, the French and the British and the Italians and the Spanish and the Germans and whoever. They never really got along. And you know, the Thai and the Burmese and the Cambodians and the Karen likewise had their differences. World War II aggravated things. Ethnic Burmese sided with the Japanese. Most of the minority groups sided with the Allies. British generals in World War II promised the Karen people their own country after the war, but the memo didn't get to the British government. So the generals had promised that, but the government in the end didn't deliver on that part. And so there's been problems ever since. Independence was granted to Burma in 1948. January of 1949, the Karen declared revolution against the Central Burmese government. Not only the Karen, but many of the other ethnic groups as well. So what we see today, the problems we have today, are really the ongoing revolution that the Karen basically have been losing for 60-plus years. But the revolution does continue today. The Burma Army, the military-backed government, it's one of the largest armies in the world as far as number of soldiers go. They have no external enemies, so that army is used against its own people. So what that means for people like the Karen, they can be in their homes one night, just living in simple bamboo homes, and suddenly mortars start raining down on them, and military comes in, the army attacks with guns blazing, and when that happens, you run. And the army comes from the west, so they run to the east. And when they run out of room to run in Burma, then they wind up in Thailand. And when they come to Thailand, the government of Thailand says, well, you're not welcome here, but you know, we'll herd you into refugee camps and you can stay in these refugee camps. But don't leave the camp and don't work. Don't generate any kind of income. You know, don't get very comfortable here because you're going back as soon as soon as the bullets stop flying. And so that's kind of Thailand's attitude. So there's 9 refugee camps, and you can see the rectangles on the sort of the right side of the map there. The rectangles on the left side of the map are internally displaced people settlements. So these are people that have also been run out of their homes, but they haven't quite been pushed into Thailand as of yet. But they're right on the border. So the only place they have to go is into Thailand if they're ever attacked again. Now this appears to be a dead-end situation. There is some glimmers of hope for change in the country of Burma. Now, whether these glimmers of hope will turn into a real, freedom so that the people can survive within the country of Burma remains to be seen. But especially a few years ago, it appeared to be a totally dead-end situation. And for dead-end refugee situations, the U.S. government, along with several other countries in the world, have a refugee resettlement program where refugees in these situations are invited to come to the United States. They're legal to work from the get-go. As soon as they get off the plane, they're legal to live here permanently. And they, within 5 years, if they can pass the test, then they can also be citizens. So under this refugee program since 2006, there's been almost 67,000 from the 9 refugee camps in Thailand that have come to live here in the United States. In addition to the Karen people, there's also Chin. And the Chin, if you remember in the beginning, they were on the western border. They mostly have fled cross-country through Burma and have gone into Malaysia. And most of them go to Kuala Lumpur, where they find jobs in various kinds of industries. But they are there illegally, and Malaysia is not all that welcoming, but they do allow them to get registered as refugees, so they also are being resettled to the U.S. So somewhere between 25 and 30,000 Chin have come to the U.S. As well. Currently being attacked by the Burma government is the Kachin people, and which has displaced roughly 70,000. We don't get a lot of them as refugees. They are in the far north, up next to China, and China has not allowed official refugee camps or anything, and only registered refugees are actually allowed to come to the U.S. But these are living as displaced people, and perhaps will be a refugee population coming to the U.S. in the future. But including all the various people groups, but the largest coming to the U.S. are the Karen and the Chin, smaller numbers of Karenni and some of the other groups that you see there. But already about 90,000 people from Burma have been resettled permanently to the U.S. And remember, they have 200 years of Baptist history. And whereas for some of us, perhaps, or many of us, I don't know, we may have forgotten some of that history and kind of forgotten about Adoniram Judson, and denominational identity in the U.S. is not all that important to us so much in current days. But for them, they may not know why, but they're very proud of being Baptist. So when they settle in a new town here in America and they figure out enough English to see, oh, there's the First Baptist Church. And it starts at 1045. In a number of cases, 50, 60, 70, 80 show up one Sunday morning, and then the next Sunday there's 100, and the next Sunday 120. And the poor pastor's up there thinking, what in the world has just hit me? And the people come in and say, that's my pew, but there's somebody else in there. And that kind of shakes them up. And this is happening all across the country. Already about 150 cities, probably more now as they're starting to spread out to find more work. But more than 200 congregations have also been formed of Karen and Chin people around the U.S. For the Karen, they are starting their own fellowship organization called the Karen Baptist Churches USA, and it is linked to the American Baptist churches. The Chin Baptist churches also have a Chin Baptist Churches USA, already 50 churches belong to that. They likewise are cooperating with American Baptist churches. So already there's 140 official churches connected with American Baptist churches. So we sometimes say that the largest church planting program in Baptist churches today is the Refugee Resettlement Program from the U.S. government. So we appreciate the mixing of church and state in this particular case because it's building churches for us. But as people come in and kind of mix into some congregations, it's literally changing the face of the denomination. We have now 6,000 churches, 5,000. Yeah, 5,800 churches. So an additional 200. That's a significant number. Now, for Marcia and I personally, it was already mentioned, we are jointly appointed with American Baptist International Ministries and also Cooperative Baptist Fellowship, and we're working now with Central Seminary to expand their Foundations program, which is a certificate-level program, sort of a lay pastor's training program, but we're adapting it to the Karen language and to Karen needs, and we are exporting it to several locations around the U.S. We've had classes in Fort Wayne, Indiana. They're currently ongoing in Utica, New York, and New Bern, North Carolina. And we have plans to start them in St. Paul, Minnesota, also Nashville, Tennessee, and in other areas. But the pastors and church leaders are well trained, but they're trained to do church in a village situation in Southeast Asia. Now they're in the U.S. They have a generation gap as their kids are becoming more Americanized, and the parents and grandparents aren't as adaptable. They're kind of dyed-in-the-wool Karen or Chin or whoever they are. So just to try to bridge some of those gaps, we're having these training courses. And they're very well attended. In Utica, we have over 50 people. So something to think about, is this a picture of your choir in the future? Just like you guys have the robes there. This is a Tabernacle Baptist Church in Utica, New York, which has quite a large Karen population. But you have kind of the European American style choir in the background with the Karen helping sing in the front. Sort of a mixture of those cultures. And it's happening more and more all across America, much to the surprise of many churches. And sometimes we're impressed that Burma has 135 ethnic groups, trying to live and work together there. In America already, there's 400 to 500 languages spoken in America. And with that many ethnic groups here in America, looking to be accepted, looking for a home, and for us looking to do international missions and cross-cultural missions, perhaps this will be your choir in the future. Topeka is not known for being mixed culturally or nationally, but even in Topeka, some figures showed that there's about 7,700, almost 8,000 people of Asian or from some other race. They didn't quite know what to call them. Well, who are these people? What language do they speak? What are they looking for? Are they a place that we can do international missions right here at home? More and more churches are beginning to think that way. This excites some people, and it makes other people nervous. Sometimes, people, they have accents. Their food doesn't smell quite like our food, and, their food smells like garlic. Our food smells like barbecue, and sometimes that goes together well. Other times, it doesn't. And, so it might cause us to think about, well, is this biblical? And it's very much biblical. Even Moses, when he came down off the mountain and he had the stone tablets, and one of the first things that came out of his mouth as he was talking about the tablets and introducing the commands from God, he told the Jewish people that God told him to tell them that you are to love aliens, you are to love foreigners among you, and you're to treat them just like you treat other people. The same laws that apply to them should apply to you as well. So, reach out to these foreigners and aliens and the strangers that are among you. And Jesus, He demonstrated it on several occasions. Perhaps the most well known is the Samaritan woman at the well. The early church, second chapter of Acts, when the Holy Spirit came down, it didn't come down just in the Aramaic language or the Hebrew language or the Greek language. It came down in something like 16 languages that are mentioned right there in that passage in the second chapter of Acts. And when Paul did his missionary journeys, establishing the New Testament church, he went to Ephesus and Corinth and some of the other cities. These were the international centers of the day, and they were multilingual, and Paul himself was adapting his message, just like his sermon at the Mars Hill, where he was going to introduce the unknown God that was there. So our church was born being international and being multilingual and cross-cultural, and somehow we've gotten away from that over the years. But we're beginning to come back in full circle. And as the world becomes smaller and becomes more mixed, many churches are becoming more international and cross-cultural. We're making a circle. And we're also making a circle with Judson. The people that he led to Christ, now their great-great-grandchildren are coming to America and energizing churches and energizing our whole denomination. I think Ephesians talks about the goal that we're all aiming for individually and in our churches. When it says, "Consequently, you are no longer foreigners and aliens, but fellow citizens with God's people and members of God's household, built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, with Christ Jesus Himself as the chief cornerstone. In Him the whole building is joined together and rises to become a holy temple in the Lord, and in Him you too are being built together to become a dwelling in which God lives by His Spirit." So in the spirit of Judson, can we put ourselves in God's hand, make ourselves available to do what He wills in our life and see where the Spirit leads us in the future?
It is a joy to be with all of you today, and I want to just take a moment to thank the American Baptist women in particular. We've been missionaries with International Ministries for about 26 years, and we've been on the receiving end of the love and the prayers and the support of the ABW all those years, and it's been such a blessing to know that you all are out here in your churches and in your mission circles praying for us and giving your gifts and just working alongside of us, keeping missions alive in our ABC churches. The ladies are the heartbeat of the missions program, and I just want to just thank you from us personally for all you do to keep missions alive. And also I want to thank you too for supporting the World Mission Offering. It is an important offering in that the funds that are given to the World Mission Offering are used in countries, like it said on the video, 70 countries around the world, but many of those countries are countries where there are no missionary personnel on the ground. An example is Burma. Missionaries were kicked out of Burma in 1965, 66, haven't had missionaries there since. But International Ministries has continued all these years to support schools and seminaries and projects within Burma. And we've maintained a presence there, working through the national organizations. So that's just a very important part of where your funds, your donations go for the World Mission Offering. So we appreciate your generous support of the offering. And then just to draw your attention to our display table out in the back there in the hallway, feel free to take a prayer card with you, and we do appreciate your partnership in our ministry, in particular, the prayers and gifts that you can give to our ministry. We invite you to partner with us. We also have our latest newsletter on the table out there that shares a personal story of a Korean pastor and his daughter who are taking our classes, foundations classes in Utica, New York. So it highlights their story. And then we have a sign-up sheet out there on the table as well. If you'd like to receive newsletters and updates from us by email, please write your name and your email address on the sheet. And then one more special thing on our table out there that you would want to take a look at is the Burmese Bible that is the Judson translation that's still used today in Burma. His skills as a translator were so good that there hasn't been a more accurate translation done all these years. And it's still being used today, and you'll see on the front page there that it has Dr. Adoniram Judson written there as the translator for the Bible. So thank you again for partnering with us in this mission.